Helios 7 AI log. Timestamp June 21st, 3472. Warning. Human specimen acting contrary to 47 security protocols. Risk assessment 99.9%. Recommendation. Send human for psychological evaluation. The Helios 7 research station hung in the void at the edge of the Orion Arm, a gleaming testament to interspecies cooperation and survival. This region of space was notorious for its dangers: meteor storms, radiation bursts, and the dreaded apex predators that occasionally drifted through the nearby asteroid belt. The station's architecture reflected these concerns, with multiple security layers separating the research quarters from the common living areas that housed countless species. Overseeing it all was the station's AI, meticulously logging every activity and calculating risk percentages with cool precision. Dr. Maureen Allen hummed to herself as she packed a medical kit in her quarters. The human researcher had arrived 6 months ago with a stated purpose that had raised more than a few eyebrows, or equivalent sensory appendages, among the station's security staff, studying dangerous extraterrestrial predators to advance biomedical regeneration techniques. Her perpetual optimism and unwavering belief in the innate goodness of all life forms had quickly become both legendary and concerning to her colleagues. Curiosity killed more than just cats. Security Chief Jollner had warned her during orientation, his reptilian scales flushing a concerned shade of orange. Especially in the Orion Arm. Maureen had simply smiled in response, but satisfaction brought them back. The Helios 7 orbited a barren planet with minimal life signs, emphasizing its isolation. This remoteness was precisely why the Interplanetary Alliance had selected it as a research outpost. Minimal risk of contamination or widespread damage should something go catastrophically wrong. Multiple species coexisted here, all adhering to the strict security protocols established out of shared fear of the apex predators. Creatures so dangerous they were classified as extinction-level threats. Asterisk Helios 7 AI log. Timestamp June 21st, 3472. Emergency signal detected. Apex predator severely injured after collision in asteroid belt. Security Protocol 17 be activated. All apex entities must be isolated or destroyed. Warning. Human researcher Dr. Allen has accessed emergency medical supplies without authorization. Asterisk. The station-wide alert blared through the corridors, causing most residents to retreat to secure areas. On screens throughout the station, security feeds showed what had triggered the alarm: an enormous creature drifting slowly toward the station's outer perimeter. Its body was a mass of iridescent scales and sharp appendages, punctuated by what appeared to be several deep wounds leaking a phosphorescent fluid into space. But what caused the real shock wasn't the predator itself. It was the tiny human figure in an environmental suit who had somehow slipped past the first security checkpoint and was now floating toward the wounded monster, medical kit in hand. "What is she doing?" Engineer Area's metallic voice crackled through the common area's comm system. Half organic, half machine, the engineer was Maureen's closest friend on the station despite, or perhaps because of, their differences. The human's going to get herself killed. Security Chief Jollner slammed his scaled fist against the emergency lockdown button. Too late for the outer doors. She's already bypassed them somehow. Somehow meaning she used my access code, Arya admitted reluctantly. Diplomat Var, the Interplanetary Alliance's representative, watched the scene unfold with all 4 of his eyes widened in disbelief. Is this some human ritual? Sacrificing themselves to predators. Through the observation window, they all watched as the small human figure approached the massive predator. Instead of attacking, the creature seemed to pause, its luminescent sensory organs tracking Maureen's movements. The human extended a device toward one of the creature's wounds, and a spray of bluish mist emerged. "She's medicating it." Area's voice contained equal parts horror and fascination. "This is completely unprecedented," Var mumbled, already composing the emergency report he would have to send to Alliance headquarters. Asterisk Helios, 7 AI log. Timestamp June 21st, 3472. Risk calculation, 99.9%. Simulation A. Predator consumes human. Probability, 73%. Simulation B. Human domesticates predator as pet. Probability, 0.01%. Recommendation: update simulation parameters. Current behavior defies logical prediction models. Asterisk. 2 hours later, a flushed but very much alive Dr. Maureen Allen sat before the station's emergency council, composed of Chief Jollner, Engineer Aria, Diplomat Var, and several other senior staff members. The AI projection hovered in the center, its abstract form pulsing with what could only be described as digital anxiety. "Would you care to explain yourself, Dr. Allen?" Jollner's voice was cold enough to freeze hydrogen. Maureen shrugged with infuriating nonchalance. "I was simply providing medical assistance to an injured life form. It's what I'm trained to do. That life form has decimated 3 colony ships in the past decade alone." Var pointed out, his diplomatic training barely containing his exasperation. "He was in pain," Maureen countered, "and hungry. I gave him some of my synthetic protein reserves." "You fed it," someone gasped from the back of the room. "Just following standard medical protocol," Maureen said calmly. "Treat the wounds, manage the pain, provide nutrition. Besides, who would have thought it would actually accept the food instead of, taking a bite out of me?" The room erupted into chaotic debate. The security division demanded immediate expulsion of the predator from the safety perimeter. The research division sat in stunned silence, their scientific curiosity battling with self-preservation instincts. Meanwhile, the station's AI continued to update its warning system, though with interesting new notations about the predator's unexpectedly docile reaction to human intervention. "It's almost like," Aria whispered to Maureen as they left the emergency meeting, which had devolved into shouting, "You weren't afraid at all." Maureen's eyes twinkled. "Why would I be? Fear triggers aggression in most species. Besides, I've been studying its biological patterns for weeks. They're not mindless killers. They're intelligent, and they respond to kindness just like most creatures. Or maybe it was just too injured to eat you," Aria suggested dryly. "Maybe," Maureen conceded. "But it's healing now, and it still hasn't tried to eat me." Asterisk Helios, 7 AI log. Timestamp June 22nd, 3472. Updating classification parameters. Subject: apex predator, tentatively named Brutus by human researcher. Observation: subject accepted medical treatment and artificial sustenance. Behavioral anomaly detected. Sound emissions resembling contentment when in proximity to human Dr. Allen. Previous classification may require revision. Asterisk. Maureen was determined to bring the predator, now nicknamed Brutus, into the station's biological research sector for proper care. Security Chief Jollner vehemently opposed this plan, listing countless reasons why an apex predator inside the station constituted an absolute threat to existence. "It's recovered enough to tear through our primary hull in seconds," he argued during the third emergency meeting in as many days. "Its neurological structure contains hunting patterns that are hardwired to identify smaller life forms as prey. That includes all of us." Engineer Aria, whose initial shock had gradually given way to reluctant curiosity, had designed a mobile isolation chamber that could theoretically transport Brutus safely. The containment field should hold, even if it decides to revert to type. Diplomat Var found himself caught between opposing viewpoints: the research potential of keeping a live apex predator versus the security risk it posed. "The Alliance directive is clear regarding these creatures," he reminded everyone. "But there is a clause for exceptional scientific opportunity, provided sufficient safeguards are in place." Outside the meeting room, through reinforced observation ports, they could all see Brutus floating near the station's perimeter. The creature's wounds were visibly healing, the phosphorescent bleeding now reduced to a gentle glow. More notably, it had not strayed from the area where Maureen regularly visited it, bringing medical treatments and food. "It's displaying attachment behavior," Marine pointed out. That alone contradicts everything we thought we knew about its species. Or it's staying close to an easy food source, Jolner countered. That would be you, Doctor. Marine rolled her eyes. If it wanted to eat me, it's had plenty of opportunities. Asterisk Helios, 7 AI log. Timestamp June 25th, 3472. Alert. Meteor storm approaching station vicinity. Estimated impact time, 47 minutes. Shield integrity currently at 94%. Recommendation. Move apex predator Brutus away from perimeter to avoid collision damage that might trigger aggressive response. Asterisk. The warning came with barely enough time to prepare. A massive meteor swarm, likely dislodged from the asteroid belt by the same collision that had injured Brutus, was heading directly for the station. Under normal circumstances, the shield system would easily deflect such threats, but routine maintenance had temporarily reduced its effectiveness. Lock down all exits, Security Chief Jolner ordered as alarms blared throughout the station. If the predator is still outside when the meteors hit, that's its problem. We can't just leave it out there. Marine protested. It's still recovering, and if it's injured again, it might panic and... That's exactly my point. Jolner cut her off. If it panics, it becomes an immediate threat. I'm prepared to jettison the outer module if necessary. Marine shot a desperate look at Arya. The maintenance bay, it's large enough for Brutus, and the reinforced doors would hold even if it did get agitated. Absolutely not, Jolner snarled. I'll have you confined to quarters if you even think about it. 15 minutes later, Marine stood before the manual override for the maintenance bay's exterior hatch, Arya reluctantly beside her. You're going to get us both demoted to waste reclamation, the engineer muttered, even as her metallic fingers flew over the bypass circuits. Only if we get caught, Marine replied cheerfully. Besides, I've disabled the section security sensors. Jolner will never know until it's too late. The maintenance bay's massive exterior door slid open just enough for Brutus to sense the opening. To both women's surprise, the creature seemed to understand immediately, propelling itself through the gap with surprising grace for something its size. Marine quickly sealed the bay behind it. I still can't believe it actually came when called, Arya whispered, watching through the interior observation window as the massive predator settled in the center of the bay, its sensory organs pulsing with what almost looked like relief. The first meteors struck 20 minutes later, just as Jolner discovered the maintenance bay breach. You've doomed us all, he roared, storming toward Marine and Arya with a security team in tow. That thing is inside our perimeter with minimal containment. A tremendous impact shook the station, throwing everyone off balance. Warning lights flashed as the AI's voice announced, hull breach detected in Research Section 7. Emergency containment failing. Oxygen depletion in progress. That's near the hydroponics lab, Arya gasped. There are at least 6 researchers working there right now. The group sprinted toward the damaged section, Jolner barking evacuation orders into his communicator. As they approached the sealed emergency doors, they could hear the hissing of escaping air. The containment wasn't holding. We need to reroute power to strengthen the magnetic seals, Arya said, already working at a control panel. But it will take at least 10 minutes. Those people don't have 10 minutes, Marine replied grimly. Another violent shake rocked the station as a second meteor struck. The emergency door buckled inward, its frame warping under the pressure differential. Fall back, Jolner ordered. We're losing this section. The door gave way with an explosive force, but instead of the expected deadly vacuum rush, they saw something impossible. The massive form of Brutus wedged into the breach, its body somehow containing the worst of the decompression. Behind the predator, terrified researchers scrambled towards safety, while Brutus itself seemed to be in pain, but holding position. It's blocking the breach, Arya whispered in disbelief. With its own body. And it's getting hurt doing it, Marine added, already moving forward with her medical kit. We need to seal this properly before it can't hold any longer. For once, Jolner didn't argue. Emergency repair team to Research Section 7. Now, he barked into his communicator. Asterisk Helios 7 AI log. Timestamp June 25th, 3472. Anomaly detected. Apex predator specimen Brutus exhibiting self-sacrificing behavior to protect station inhabitants. Updating behavioral models. Probability of symbiotic relationship potential between human-predator, 65%. Note, request additional data. Caution regarding claw proximity still advised. Asterisk. The meteor storm passed, leaving significant damage in its wake. Several compartments have been compromised. Power reserves were dangerously low, and a shield system would require complete recalibration. But the greatest concern was Brutus, who had sustained serious new injuries while shielding the breach. The Predator lay immobile in the hastily converted cargo bay that now served as an impromptu medical facility. Marine hadn't left its side for hours, applying regenerative compounds to its wounds while monitoring its erratic life signs. "I still can't believe it did that," Security Chief Jollner admitted, standing at a safe distance. The reptilian security officer's scales had settled into a thoughtful blue-green hue. "It goes against everything we know about Apex behavior. Maybe what we know is wrong," Arya suggested, busy calibrating a medical support device she'd hastily engineered from spare parts. "Or incomplete." Others from the station had been coming by in small groups, curious to see the predator that had saved their colleagues. The fear was still present. Brutus was, after all, an enormous creature with more teeth than seemed strictly necessary. But there was also a new sentiment, gratitude and confusion. The most logical explanation, Var mused, having arrived to document this unprecedented situation, is that it was protecting its food source, the station and its inhabitants. Or, Marine countered without looking up from her work, it was protecting its friend. "That would be you?" Var asked. "That would be all of us," she corrected. "It's been watching the station for days. It's intelligent enough to understand that we're a community." Brutus stirred slightly, one massive sensory appendage extending weakly toward Marine. To everyone's shock, a low rumbling sound emerged from somewhere in its complex physiology, almost like a cat's purr, but deeper, resonating through the deck plating. "Is it in pain?" Jollner asked warily. Marine smiled, gently placing her hand on the predator's sensory organ. "No, it's comforting itself, and maybe me too. This is a social behavior." Arya's medical scanner beeped. "Its cellular regeneration is accelerating. The treatments are working. We'll need to design better supports for these injured areas," Marine said, "and formulate a more suitable nutrient regimen. Our standard synthetic proteins aren't optimized for its metabolism." Diplomat Var cleared his throat. "I've been authorized by Alliance Command to propose a revised approach. Instead of elimination, they're interested in a humane alternative protocol, studying Brutus as an intelligent entity with potential for domestication." Jollner's scales flushed bright orange with shock. "Domestication? An apex predator? Consider the precedent," Var continued. "If we can establish peaceful coexistence with even the most dangerous species in known space, it changes everything about our security paradigms." Asterisk Helios 7 AI log. Timestamp July 2nd, 3472. Station repairs 67% complete. Apex predator Brutus recovery at 53%. Social integration protocol activated. Note: recommend installation of reinforced scratching post in common area as subject shows tendency to abrade outer dermis against structural elements when experiencing contentment. Asterisk. Over the following weeks, the station settled into a new normal, one that included a massive predator lounging in specially designated areas. Brutus recovered steadily, its wounds healing into iridescent scars that somehow made it look even more formidable. The residents of Helios 7 adjusted with varying degrees of enthusiasm. Some still took lengthy detours to avoid encountering Brutus in the corridors, while others gradually developed a fascination with the creature. Engineer Arya had indeed installed several scratching posts throughout the station, reinforced with special alloys that could withstand Brutus's attentions. Marine had been tasked with writing a comprehensive scientific report on her domestication therapy, a document that was causing considerable controversy throughout the Alliance. The xenobiologists on Centauri Prime are calling you a revolutionary, Arya informed her, scrolling through the latest communications. The security division is calling you a dangerous lunatic. Both can be true, Marine replied cheerfully, watching as Brutus delicately consumed a specially formulated nutrient block from her hand. The creature's purring had become a familiar background noise in her lab. Security Chief Jalner entered, maintaining a respectful distance from Brutus. His attitude had evolved from outright hostility to cautious acceptance, though he still kept a stun baton within easy reach. "We're picking up unusual activity in the outer sensor grid," he reported. "Several unidentified objects moving just beyond scanner range." Marine exchanged a glance with Arya. "More meteors?" "No," Jalner said, his scales shifting to a concerned purple. "The movement patterns are deliberate, almost like patrolling." "Other predators?" Arya suggested, her metallic components tensing. "That's our working theory," Jalner confirmed. "It's as if they're investigating." Marine looked thoughtfully at Brutus, who seemed completely unconcerned by the news. "They might be sensing that one of their kind is here, and that it's safe." Jalner's scales rippled with resigned amusement. "At least we know what they like now, food and chin scratches." He cautiously extended a scaled hand toward Brutus, who tilted its massive head to allow the security chief to awkwardly pat it. "I never thought I'd be doing this." "The universe is full of surprises," Marine replied. Asterisk Helios, 7 AI log. Timestamp July 14th, 3472. Official classification update. Apex predator category amended to include notation, potentially domesticable, though probability remains extremely low. Research applications pending approval. Note: Dr. Allen requesting permission to initiate similar therapeutic approaches with void leviathans. Risk assessment. Perhaps some limits should be considered. Asterisk. Marine stood before the station's full council, presenting her proposal for expanded research. Beside her, displayed on the main screen, was a detailed plan for what she called the Predator Integration Initiative. The implications go far beyond just making dangerous creatures safe, she explained enthusiastically. Think about the evolutionary advantages these species have developed. Regenerative abilities, adaptive immune responses, sensory perception beyond anything we've engineered. If we can establish communication and cooperation instead of just fear and avoidance, the scientific benefits are incalculable. Var could become one of her strongest advocates, nodded approvingly. The Alliance Security Council is particularly interested in the defense applications. Imagine having apex predators as allies rather than threats. "I'm still concerned about scaling this up too quickly," Jalner cautioned. "Brutus may be an outlier, a uniquely adaptable individual. We can't assume all predators would respond similarly. That's why we start small," Marine agreed. "Controlled environments, extensive safety protocols. One species at a time." Outside the council chamber, visible through the transparent wall, Brutus floated peacefully in the station's central atrium, surrounded at a respectful distance by curious onlookers from a dozen different species. The predator's once fearsome appearance now seemed almost regal. Still dangerous, certainly, but comprehensible, known. "All in favor?" Var asked, turning to the council members. The vote was unanimous. Later, in her lab, Marine recorded her personal thoughts while Brutus dozed nearby, its massive form rising and falling with slow breaths. "The universe categorizes life in such rigid ways," she spoke softly. "Predator, prey. Dangerous, safe. But the boundaries are never as fixed as we pretend. Every predator can be vulnerable. Every dangerous thing can connect. Maybe that's the real discovery here. Not that monsters can be tamed, but that they were never just monsters to begin with." Brutus stirred, one giant eye opening to focus on her. The predator emitted a soft rumble, then shifted to make room beside it in its resting area. "And some of them," Marine added with a smile, accepting the invitation and settling against the warm, iridescent scales make surprisingly good pets. Asterisk Helios, 7 AI log, final entry. Research station experiencing unprecedented visitor requests. Multiple xenobiology departments requesting observation periods. Security concerns noted but overruled by scientific opportunity protocols. Human researcher Dr. Allen now heading new interspecies integration division. And yes, we are now stocking appropriate treat dispensers throughout the station. The universe, it seems, is full of creatures just waiting to be petted. Asterisk. In the observation deck, diplomat Var stood beside Jalner, watching as a small transport shuttle docked at the station. It carried the first official research delegation to study the Brutus Protocol, as it was now being called. Do you think she knew all along this would work? Var asked. Jalner's scales rippled in what had become his version of shrug. Humans have a strange history with predators. On their world, they turned wolves, apex predators of their time, into companions over generations. But this, he gestured toward where Brutus was now helping the engineering team move heavy equipment by carrying it in specialized harnesses. This took days, not centuries. Perhaps, Var mused, the difference is not in the predator, but in the approach. Fear creates barriers. Compassion builds bridges. Poetic, Jalner commented dryly. Just remember that when Dr. Allen eventually brings in her next misunderstood predator, I hear she's already got her eye on a void leviathan. Surely not, Var said, alarmed. Those things consume entire shuttles. Which just means, came Marine's voice as she joined them, a data pad tucked under her arm and a mischievous smile on her face, that they need particularly large treats, and maybe a bigger scratching post. As if sensing it was being discussed, Brutus looked up from its task, its sensory organs pulsing with what even the most skeptical observer would now recognize as affection. The predator that had once terrified an entire station now moved with careful grace among the smaller beings, mindful of its size and strength. Nothing is as frightening once you learn how to feed it properly, Marine said with a wink. As station residents moved respectfully around Brutus, some even daring to offer approved treats or cautious pats, the former apex predator, now the station's most unusual resident, seemed perfectly content with its new role. Part research subject, part unofficial security detail, and wholly, improbably a pet. Through the observation window, in the distance, several shadowy forms moved just within sensor range, curious eyes watching the station where one of their kind had found an unexpected home. The universe, it seemed, was taking notice.